Hi, good afternoon. I have these requests from Eric Smith for two issues that I think most rabbis and most Jewish speakers would say, that's anti Semitic, how dare you? And I guess I'm an honest enough person to be able to say that, first of all, I don't know much about these two subjects that he's asking about, the historical Jewish role in two very problematic issues in history. I don't know much about them. And I know the point of contention we have between each other are Jews a race or a slash ethnicity something or a religion. And I think it's clear today that Judaism is a religion, whether or not you want to admit the historical claims of the Jewish religion. But the vast majority of people who claim some kind of a Jewish identity are not particularly religious. Some people are religious without being Orthodox. Some people are Orthodox and they have problems in their lives because we're all human beings. But the Jewish role in these two issues that you bring up, that I'm not necessarily going to mention by name, are they much more different historically and, even by virtue, if you want to make per capita, since the Jewish community is such a small minority, and are you saying maybe they're overwhelmingly represented in certain issues, people who identify themselves as Jews, but is that really any different than people identify as Christians or as Muslims? And with these two issues, one is viewed as sinful and one Judaism does not view as sinful, and it's shocking to people today, of course, that the one that's legal today is viewed as sinful, and the one that's illegal today is not viewed inherently as sinful, but we do have an idea, Dina de Malchus Dina, the law of the land is the law. From those two subjects that you mentioned. And people are much more repelled by the second one that is illegal than the one that's not illegal, that's considered sinful in our religion. Whereas the one that's not considered sinful has been part of human society for a very long time, a major part of human society for a very long time. And yet it's something that I agree is horrible and disgusting, and human society should have grown out of it. It hasn't yet, but at least it's illegal, and I think that's a good thing. Even though Scripture allows it, doesn't mean that Scripture necessarily even condones it. There's a difference between recognizing that which was part of society that it would have been too difficult to remove, but I do believe that, and again, this is that the Jewish religion, the Torah, was bringing us toward this time, and Christianity was bringing us toward this time when this one issue should be abolished, and that's how we refer to it. And it's right that it was abolished, and we're happy that it was abolished, even though it took a long time. And it was allowed at one point, and technically, scripturally, it's not a sin, but it's something that we are happy is gone from polite society, and unfortunately still exists in impolite society. And I hope, and as far as I know, does not exist in the Jewish community at all. I hope, although there might again be certain people who I don't know about that identify as Jewish and might be a part of this illegal aspect, but it's mostly how it exists today is in the Islamic world. The one issue that's illegal and not sinful. However, the Islamic approach is much different than the classical Torah Jewish approach. Much harsher, much more difficult to deal with. As far as the other issue, which is legal, and Judaism as a religion plainly views as sinful, but it's clear that there are a lot of people who self-identify as Jews who, to this day, are still very much involved with that other issue that you mentioned. That was the subject of one of my videos today that I still didn't want to mention by name. When it came to that issue, the way I approach it, why are there so many Jewish people, people who identify as Jewish even if they're not religious, and then sometimes you'll see Chabad rabbis trying to put tefillin on certain people, and they and one person in particular who's very involved with this through the years, who was, self-identifying as Jewish with a certain Jewish heart to himself, not totally removed from Judaism. And he said that, Christians always talk about, oh, you're going to go to hell with all these sins, and Jews don't talk like that. Now, he's talking from a secular Jewish or liberal Jewish world. In the Orthodox Jewish world, someone, that's what the type of profession they want to go into. You're going to hell. You can't do that. And if you're going to be involved in this, you're going to try to hide it. There's still going to be some shame involved. But no, that's not good. You're not allowed to do it. It's a sin. You're not allowed to be involved in these things. I can understand people, they're desperate, they need money, and things that are available, and all kinds of things, and we have temptations in life, as all human beings do. But I don't think it's a particularly Jewish issue. But part of it, though, what I would say, is historically, and this is a much newer issue, I would say, even though it's, again, something that has existed for a long time, but was not such a major issue the way it is today. And this is a very horrible issue, but again, it's curious to me why someone who, I'm curious, and it's still a good thing that you're upset about this issue. You're right to be upset about this issue, but you're someone who, you say you don't believe in the Bible. You believe the Bible's all fairy tales, and it's not supported by archaeology and so forth, and yet you're concerned about this issue. Well, it's good. More and more people should be concerned with this issue. But we have Orthodox Jewish organizations that fight against this issue because it is considered a sin. Guard Your Eyes is a wonderful organization that tries to help people overcome this very difficult temptation, just like there are Christian ministries and Muslim ministries that try to help people overcome this temptation and this addiction that a lot of people have. And so we have Jewish ministries that are trying to shut this all down and trying to stop it. So it's certainly not a concerted Jewish effort to undermine the Christian or undermine the white man or undermine anybody else by introducing these things. It might be a left-wing, I believe, a left-wing plot, communist plot, to try to destroy society using this issue. Yes. And that this issue is a means to this difficult to destroy society with this. And there were a lot of ex-Jews, atheists, who were communists, but not all. You know, communism, Marxism doesn't come out of Judaism in any way, and it doesn't really come out of the Jewish people, even though there were a lot of Jewish leaders. It was a very anti-Jewish movement. And the pious rabbis were always persecuted by the Marxists. But where do a lot of these issues come from, and why do we see people who are identifying as Jews involved in these things, and not only this, but many, many problematic things in the world? And my personal belief, although a lot of people will be upset at me for saying this, is historically there were two cults. One that was very popular in the Jewish world, one not as popular, but still with many followers, that were what you could almost call satanic cults coming out of the Jewish community. One was Shabtai Tzvi, who declared himself the Messiah in the Common Era 1666. That many, many Jews were attracted to his movement, if not perhaps even most of the Jewish people. At least were curious and hopeful, perhaps, that he'd be the promised Messiah and things. And it left a mark for many years afterwards, after he'd already converted to Islam and disappeared. Then the new pretender to Shabtai Tzvi's throne came about, whose name was Jacob Frank. And it's interesting, so Shabtai Tzvi converted to Islam, and Frank converted to Christianity, and both are considered to be, dangers within those communities and dangerous to the Jewish community. And I personally believe that whether some people might be cognizant of this and other people might not be aware of this, that to this day there is this infiltration of the Frankists and the Sabbateans in the secular Jewish world, or the influences that are residual in the secular Jewish world and the liberal Jewish world, the Reform movement, particularly secular Zionist movements, various communist movements, many of which opposed each other. To me, I think a lot of these quote-unquote anti-Jewish conspiracy theories are not really anti-Semitic, but they're pointing to this particular problem of the Sabbateans and the Frankists that has indeed had a major impact. There's somebody on Twitter, he used to call himself the Rebbe. I think now he calls himself Hot Takes, and I think now his Twitter handle is private now. He's been interviewed on different blogs and different places where he's really brought out the historical facts of this. He's really connected the dots and shown how the Jewish left, where it came from, and how it, to this day, remains to be a horrible source of problems for the world. And is it possible that there are still these influences still exist in the Orthodox Jewish world where they came out of? Yes, in all factions there are these infiltrations, and then there's also, might have a more ancient source, the Erev Rav, which we've discussed before, And I've discussed of how the Erev Rav could be, with a lot of these conspiracy theories of reptilian shapeshifters or extraterrestrial shapeshifters and things, in the Zohar and other classical Jewish texts, which incidentally a lot of these groups also embraced, you have these ideas of the infiltration of shapeshifters and things like that. So all of these things, it's certainly possible that that this is what we're dealing with. So that this infiltration into the Jewish community continues to this day, and we suffer from that. The Jewish people suffer from it, and the world suffers from it. But it's not the Jewish people as a whole. It's rather these cults and these other groups that are the sources of our consternation and the sources of our troubles to this very day. So, I don't know, and again, I know maybe a lot of Jewish people might be offended by me saying that, but that's pretty much my belief, is that these problems, they're here, and they come from these impure sources, whether they're extraterrestrial, whether they're demonic, whether they're satanic, that have infiltrated our community, and everything comes from God. Everything comes from God, who's the source of goodness. And so evil has to feed off of that goodness and holiness in order to survive. That's something that people should be aware of in order to really understand what's really going on here. And I wish I would have known that. Turn around here, don't I? So, again, I know maybe some Jewish people might be offended by me saying this, but this is how I understand these issues. Not only those two issues that you particularly mentioned, but other issues in the world, generally left-wing problems in the world. All of them, I believe, can be traced either to the very ancient Erev Rav, or to our modern day Sabbateans, Frankists, and other problematic groups that have infiltrated the Jewish community, and that these things are they're not from our community. They're problems that really should be rooted out of the Jewish community, and that's why also I am happy that that the organization called Guard Your Eyes is working to fix this problem. All right, thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, and we'll see you later.